Welcome, everyone, to our program tonight. My name is Melanie Parker. I am the founder of the Whole Family Foundation, and I am super excited about our program tonight. We will be talking with Sheila Battle, who is one of my good friends, but she has done so much in her community and circles for emotional wellness. And I know this is a topic that is near and dear to her heart. And so I'm super excited about the content that she is going to share. We will be posting some resources in the coming days related to caregivers and how to care for yourself, and some opportunities for respite and other resources to be able to work on that emotional wellness piece. Our website is www.thewholefamilyfoundation.com. And from that website, you can look at our resource page as well as connect with us on social media and YouTube. So you can also reach us at at Melanie at thewholefamilyfoundation.com if you have any other specific questions. So without further ado, I will turn it over to Miss Sheila Battle.
Well, good evening, good evening, good evening. I am so happy and honored to be here to hang out with this incredible organization. I just honor Melanie and Jeremy and my beautiful niece and my amazing nephews because I claim them. Yes, I do. And I think that this board also deserves recognition for doing something courageous. This is a tough cookie to crack, and for a group of people to say, even if it's out of our own need, this is necessary, and we're going to come together and we're going to support one another. We're going to create community. We're going to walk alongside one another, and we're going to create safe spaces for other people to be able to explore and unpack the journey with their loved one who has special needs. And so, kudos to you, Miss Melanie, and this amazing board. I've been in social services, I feel like my whole life, and I won't tell you how long my life has been, but I feel like I've been in social services my whole life. My mother was a teacher and she was a community member. And I feel like we were always in these conversations about assessing needs and figuring out how to wrap services around people, whether they were hungry, whether they were coming out of incarceration and needed their voting rights, or whether they had a special needs family member and needed services. My mother was that person. And so um, I don't know how to not be this person. And I have way too much content. So what I think I'm going to do is, because the content, the links and all of that stuff is something that I'm going to make available to Melanie, and she can post it as part of the library of services for this community, and for those who are curious about this community and kind of wondering, well, what could possibly be there that would benefit me, benefit my family. Um, I'm going to give her all of that, but I really thrive with Melanie off having a soulful conversation. That's kind of what we do. That's kind of how we vibe. So the flow for tonight is going to be that I'm going to share some information, but I don't want to be data driven, and I don't want to tell you stuff that you already know. So I want to be really, really mindful, really careful not to do that. But then I think the conversation between Melanie and I, and the guests who are here, will help foster a conversation around what people really want to talk about. Because it's one thing for me to just data dump on you and just give you a bunch of yada yada yada, and then there's another. It's a whole other thing to ask some really pertinent, heart piercing questions that could really make a difference in someone's lives and support them. And so the first thing that I want to do is something that I do at the beginning of every session. My nickname is, well, I have several nicknames, but one of them is Auntie. So everybody calls me Auntie. And the other nickname I have is the Graceologist. And so I am big on, when we come into a space, that we do and have and share and experience together, that grounds us, that connects us in our bodies, that connects us to this moment and allows us to take a deep breath. And so the first thing I want to do is invite you to close your eyes if you like, if you're comfortable doing that, to close your eyes. I'm not going to hypnotize you. This isn't any hocus pocus. I promise it'll be over in 5 minutes and it won't hurt. So I want you to settle in your chair. I want you to get as comfortable as you possibly can. Um, and I just simply want you to close your eyes. Just close your eyes. It's been a long day. For some of us, it's been a hard day. It's been an interesting day. It's been a challenging day. It's been an exhausting day. But right now, this moment belongs to you. I'm not going to ask you to take deep cleansing breaths. I just want you to breathe. I just want you to breathe at the natural rhythm and pace that's comfortable for your body. The second thing that I want you to do, if you're comfortable, is to place your right hand over your own heart. We're not going to pledge allegiance. I just want you to press your fingertips in until you can feel the rhythm of your own heartbeat. That's all. Connect with the energy and the force that's keeping you alive, that's keeping you breathing, that's keeping your blood flowing, that all of your faculties are working right now in this moment. And your heart is keeping all of that afloat. Just connect with that for a moment. Okay, and we're done. That's it. I just wanted to take a moment, just bring everybody in the room, give you a chance, because for some of you, this caregiving lifestyle is interesting. It's really something else, and I've done it. And I remember having days where I literally couldn't remember if I had brushed my teeth that day. Like I just couldn't remember. I couldn't remember if I had eaten. I couldn't remember if I had even written the to-do list to figure out if I had done all the things that I said I was going to do. And so I don't come into this space as a stranger. We are kindred. And for several years, my husband and I were sandwiched between dependent children and dependent parents. And we nursed 3 parents until they transitioned. The first one transitioned in 2009, one transitioned in 2010, and one transitioned in 2014. And in between that time, we were still taking care of and trying to raise our children. We were basically full-time in ministry and had full-time jobs. And for me, I had more than one full-time job. And all of this was happening at the same time. And so in 2016, I was fortunate enough to do a TED Talk. And in that TED Talk, I talk about this moment where, you know, all of the raging voices that were telling me all the things that I should be doing and all the things that I didn't get right and all the things that didn't get done and all the missteps, that those voices were louder than I could control in the moment. And all I could do as a woman of faith, I couldn't pray, I couldn't quote a scripture, I couldn't lean into my faith in that way. The only thing that I could do was holler stop. And the stop wasn't just to catch my breath. It was to command all of that noise to just stop. I had been so clouded with that noise and I had been outrunning that noise because I was busy. And that moment in the bathroom, I was alone. I was supposed to be brushing my teeth and getting cleaned up and getting ready for the day. And those voices caught up with me. And so some people call that a breakdown. Some people call it an anxiety attack. I call it a moment of awakening because what it did was in that moment, it allowed me to grab hold of what I knew to be true, which was and is that it was never meant for me to figure this out by myself. It was never meant for me to do it all by myself. I'm not supposed to have all the answers. I'm not supposed to know all the things, and I'm certainly not supposed to do all the things. I had convinced myself that I could. And If you had let me tell it, I would have told you I was doing it all and I was doing a pretty darn good job. But in that moment, all of that caught up with me. And what happened after that was a spiritual awakening, that there is grace. And I don't throw grace out there as a theological construct. I don't throw it out there as something that is only relegated to faith. I think grace is a place. And in that place, you can unload so that you can pick up what your hands are fitted to carry. You can unlearn and then you can relearn. You can unlearn toxic habitual habits that we've built up over time because we don't think that we can do anything different and we don't have time to come up with a new plan. When you are the primary caregiver or even the secondary caregiver for someone who has special needs and requires um, lots of attention, a lot of times we're building the bridge while we're crossing it. It's not like you always get enough time to figure out the plan, to plan your work and work your plan. A lot of times you're building the bridge as you're crossing it and you're figuring it out as you go. And there is no time to reach out, to network, to ask a whole lot of questions. Your child, spouse, your parent is in need, and your primary focus is their comfort and their safety, right? Their comfort and their safety. And a lot of times what ends up happening is we're so in that vein, we're so on that street that we forget about our safety. We forget about our health. And we don't do things that remind us to take good care of ourselves. So I call this burnout. I classify it as burnout. I talk to enough people every day. I'm a soul care coach. I'm a human services advocate. I'm in this space all the time. And I don't know how to say that I was happy about this, but I was actually happy to read that the World Health Organization finally diagnosed burnout as a disease. You can pull it up. It has actually now been classified as a medical condition. And the reason is because burnout is not about being tired. Burnout is about your reserves being exhausted. It's about your reserves being empty. And so being this primary caregiver or this secondary caregiver, it's done out of love, and it can be fulfilling and it can be rewarding. And for a lot of us, it was a way of life for that season. But it can be frustrating and it can be challenging, and it can wring your rag dry. It can absolutely wring your rag dry. That's not even talking about what it's doing to you emotionally, physically, financially, mentally. The system isn't set up to help you. I'm just going to be very honest. I worked in social services for over a decade, and I've been in local city government for 20 years, and now I'm in state government. And I can tell you the system is not set up to help you. And so it behooves us to have experiences like this, where we come together, we have these conversations, we share resources, we share with each other what's working, we share with each other what's not working, we warn each other. This is a waste of your time. Pivot your energy this way, because in the moment, you just want what's best. You're reaching, grabbing, striving, and straining for what's best. Because at the end of the day, you have to look into the big brown eyes or the big blue eyes or the big green eyes of the person who you love, who you are caring for, and be able to express to them that I'm doing the best I can. I'm doing the best I can. I'm doing the best I can. This burnout phenomena also happens when the burden of all of our core negative responses from living this way impacts our health. And I think that's what helped push this over into being classified as a disease. The World Health Organization, the website says burnout is a syndrome conceptualized as resulting from chronic stress, that has not been successfully managed. It is characterized in three dimensions: feelings of energy depletion or exhaustion, increased mental distance, and we can talk about that. We can definitely jump into some questions about that, or feelings of negativism, cynicism related to your responsibilities, and reduced professional personal efficacy. Like I said, I had days I couldn't remember if I had brushed my teeth. My self agency was all off. Like I couldn't tell you what day it was. Um, One of the things that I can add to this cycle that we were on when we were caring for our parents, my mother and father lived here with us in Richmond, but my husband's mother lived in North Carolina. And literally, I would get up on a Saturday morning and drive to North Carolina just to bathe her, just to roll her over in the bed and make sure she didn't have bed sores, to make sure that her IV ports and all of that stuff looked good, to look at her feet, to clip her toenails, just all the things, wash her hair, like make sure, is she good? Is she good? And then drive back. Drive back. My husband couldn't, he wasn't going to bathe his mother. Like his head wasn't even in that space. And that's another thing that comes up in that I'm hoping we're going to learn a little bit about later is rights, roles, and responsibilities. When you're asking for help, it's okay to ask for help, and it's okay to figure out rights, roles, and responsibilities. Who does what? Who does what? Because this idea and I'm not going to stereotype this group and say that all the caregivers are mothers, but primarily they are, and we really, really think it's a cape under our clothes and we want to do all of it. But it's in the asking of help and being able to delegate and really release it, is figuring out rights, roles, and responsibilities. Like whose job is what, right? Because the primary person with the rights is the person you're caring for. So what are the roles? What are the responsibilities? And who does it? But I'm getting ahead of myself. So signs and symptoms. So we talk about these three categories, but I kind of broke them out a little bit more, and I don't want to do this in a way. Melanie, please keep me on time. I don't want to make you feel worse. I want to read these to you because I want you to see what resonates. What do you identify with? If it sounds like you, say ouch. If it sounds like you, say ouch. And it's okay. It's okay, because then we're going to lift you back up when this is over. So some of the warning signs that I've come across in my practice, in my conversations, in the work that I do, is the burnout isn't just feeling anxious. It's absolutely feeling anxious about the future. So the way that I package that is, I'm the worst case scenario mom. I can tell you the most devastating thing that is going to happen if my 16-year-old gets in my car and drives to 7-Eleven, which is less than a half a mile from my house. She's not going to get around the roundabout. She's going to bump the curb. She's going to hit a duck. She's going, she's going to crash into the light pole. I'm going to map out a worst case scenario from my driveway to 7-Eleven, and I'm good at it. Like, I'm so good at it, I can just about convince somebody else that that's what's going to happen. And what I've learned is I'm so good at it that I've scared my children into thinking that's going to happen, and now they don't want to drive. You see what I'm saying? So you have to be really careful what your anxiety, what your anxious, raging thoughts produce and what they do, right? Another one is, when we're burnt out, we avoid people. The other side of that coin is, we can't get enough of people and we got to be around everybody. If we don't have company, if nobody comes over, if mom doesn't call, if the neighbor doesn't drop by, we're wondering, what happened? What did I do? Did I upset them? This is too much for them. I can't ask them for help. And we start doing this whole thing, right? Depression clinically is about the past. People don't usually get depressed about the future. They get anxious about the future, but they get depressed about the past. So what does that mean? You're playing a tape over and over in your head. The day that the doctor told you all the things, the day that you realized that this was more than you could even clearly understand while they're trying to explain it to you. The fact that you may have been alone when you found out all the things that you need to do to care for your loved one, right? Um, if you are a person who can replay those tapes without even hitting rewind, you can just hit play and that tape starts, that can send you into a cycle of depression. It can send you into a state of depression and it can cause burnout. When you feel like you are losing control over your life, now, everything with me is a coin. So on the one side of the coin, you feel like I don't have control over anything. I don't even get to decide what I want to do in a day. Everything that I do, everything that I think is about my loved one and taking care of them. The other side of that is that you absolutely feel like you need to control everything around the care of your loved one. So you have no control over your life, but you have to have absolute control over this, because if the nurse misses a thing, or if I don't catch a thing, or if he doesn't get his medicine on time, or if the therapist does something weird, or if the therapist hurt him trying to get, I have to control that. I have to make sure this is a good person. I have to make sure that they're careful. This is my baby. This is my spouse. This is my mom. I have to make sure. So you're in one space where your need to control feels required, while at the same time living your life and feeling like that's completely out of control. You have no control over your day, over your time, over when you go to the bathroom, over the last time you washed your hair, all of that. Okay. Another piece to this is you're irritable. When you're burnt out, when you hear yourself, the kids call it clap back. When you hear yourself clap back on some on somebody and they're asking you something simple, and you're like, damn. When you hear that, you're irritable. It's time. And just the exercise that we did in the beginning where we just stop. You might can't go to the yoga studio and stay for 30 minutes or an hour. You might not be able to run out and go and get a cold pressed juice from the juice bar. You might not be able to go to Bird Park or go to Rockwood Park and walk around and connect with nature, hug a tree, stand in the dirt with your shoes off. You might not be able to do all of those things. And when you can't do what feeds your soul, you clap back, you snap back, and you're irritable. The other side of that coin, though, is you're bubbly and everything's fine. Everything's fine. Everything's great. There's no problems here. I got it. It's under control. Everything's going to be great. Everything's going to be fine. Baby's going to be great. Hubby's going to be great. Mom's going to be great. I got it under control. You're either on one extreme or the other. Okay. Another one is lack of energy. I can't do another thing. Please don't ask me to cook. Find some pizza rolls and feed yourself, husband. Other able bodied kids, look, if the bread doesn't have mold on it, eat that. Make a sandwich, stand down. I can't do another thing. Or it's you have a burst of energy, but there's no focus. You want to know what that looks like? You say, I'm going to clean up today. And you clean off the table in one room and you sweep the floor in another room and you run the dust bunner all across the around your ceiling to get all the spider web. Like you can't focus on one room. You go clean the toilet and then you go wash a load of clothes. You're like a squirrel. Like you're pshum, 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 pshum. You're all over the place, right? But one of the most foundational things, and it doesn't come out in this definition, but it's critical for me, is that you neglect your own health. So when was the last time you had a mammogram? When was the last time you went to see the OBGYN? When was the last time you had a therapy appointment? So it's all of that. When's the last time you went to the dentist just to get your teeth clean? Like when you start neglecting your own physical health, to me, that is when you have hit rock bottom in burnout. Okay. So how do we climb out? Because we need to climb out. A little bit ago, we were talking about asking for help. So rights, roles, and responsibilities. The person with the rights is the person who needs care. But what are all the roles? What are the things that need to happen to ensure that good care is provided for this person? What are the responsibilities and who does it? It can take you 10, 15 minutes. Get a piece of paper. You don't have to get a journal. You don't have to get a special book. You don't have to download an app. Pull out a piece of paper. What are the needs? This is this person's right. It's this person's right to feel safe. It's this person's right to have the best medical care that your family can afford. It's this person's right to feel loved and respected even in their illness, whatever stage of it is. That's their rights. Write that down. Write that down, because if you ever have to communicate that to somebody, somebody new who is coming into the fold, say, this is my child's rights. If you're going to be if you're going to be on our team, if you're going to sit at the table of my child's life, if you're going to help us, these are my child's rights. These, and I did that with the care team in North Carolina. I said, no, these are my mother-in-law's rights. It is her right that if she's having a bad day, if she's moaning and groaning in bed, it's her right that you call me. That's her right. Don't try to figure it out. No, call me. Because sometimes what she needs is to hear our voice. Sometimes what she needs is to hear us praying. Sometimes what she needs is to just hear her grandbaby singing. It's her right. So call us. If she's having a bad day, call us. That's her right. Okay. So you got to be able to lay that out. But it makes it easier to communicate, and it keeps you singing off the same sheet of music every time if you know what it is and you write it down. So write all of that out. And as people come, and they will be seasonal, nobody is for a lifetime. They come, they serve, and they love on your family for a season, and then they go, and then someone else comes. Okay. But if you can sing off the same sheet of music, that's a big deal. Okay. So asking for help, laying pride aside is a big deal. Okay. What's another one? Be honest with yourself. If you're tired, say you're tired. If you're hungry, say you're hungry. If you say you need a break, if you need a break, say you need a break. Be honest. One of the greatest gifts that you can give your loved one is the truth of your own lived experience while you're taking care of them. It's one of the greatest gifts you can give them. Okay. So be honest, tell the truth. Talk to other caregivers, because you really are not alone. You know, there was several times when I was in that bathroom, that same bathroom, and I was crying, thinking to myself, I'm the only one. Like, who else is doing all of this? Like, who else is working two full-time jobs? My house is open 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, pre-COVID. I had a full-time job. I was running in North Carolina. I would get to North Carolina to take care of my husband's mother, and my husband would call me and say, your mother fell. You got to come back. I'm like, who else is living like this? Like, who else is really living like this? And you think you're so in the thick of it, you think, no, nobody gets it. Nobody understands. Nobody feels this the way I'm feeling it. I want to run away from home. There were several times. Nobody is sick now. And I still want to run away from home. You have those moments. You're like, you know what? I could just pack a bag. I could just pack a bag and drive until the gas run out. I'll come back. I promise I will come back. But I need a minute. I need to check out, and I just want to run away. If that's who you are, if that's where you are, find a person or a place that's safe enough for you to tell the truth and say that. Okay? Talk to other caregivers, because I promise you somebody else is going to say the same thing. Tune into your own body at least once a day. At least once a day. If you are too busy to stop, put your hand over your own heart, feel your own heartbeat, and charge yourself back up for 5 deep breaths. You can't possibly be that busy, because you can do that in the bathroom when you're alone. Get it in where you can fit it in. That's what we tell people. You can't schedule self-care. You get it in where you can fit it in. When you're a caregiver, you don't get to say, I'm going to get a massage and it's going to happen on Tuesday at 5 o'clock. You don't get to say, I'm going to the hair cuttery and I'm gonna get my bangs cut and I'm gonna do that on Friday at 2 o'clock, because anything in the landscape of your life can change at a moment's notice. It can change with a phone call. And so self-care doesn't have to be scheduled. You just got to do it. You get it in where you can fit it in. Okay. Again, we talked about take care of your health. I'm in the final stages of a emotional wellness toolkit. And the acronym for it is Please Stop and Be Glad. And the P is for physical health. And the first exercise in the book is a chart that says winter, spring, summer, fall. And it says book your appointments for the year. Your eye appointment, your dentist appointment, your physical, and then male or female, whatever specialized appointment you need to do. So for ladies, it's your OBGYN appointment and get your mammogram. For the males, it's your prostate exam. Schedule them. Even if you have to change it, the act of you writing it down, the act of you calling and saying, I know it's June, but I want to make my appointment in December and I want to make it right now. You doing that is an act of self-care, and your body will reward you for it. Just for the 10 minutes that it might take to make all of those appointments, set them up for the year. And if you can, don't just make the appointment, but keep it. Okay. This one is hard. Eat healthy. And I am horrible. I just want you to know I could eat some cheese puffs and a Slurpee right now. A pint of Haagen-Dazs ice cream. Tiramisu with Melanie any night of the week. 2 spoons, the biggest, and we tell them cut the biggest slice you can cut. We get 2 spoons and we sit there and eat the whole thing. I'm not going to say what eat healthy means for you, but I am going to encourage you to at least try to eat healthier. Try to eat healthier. If all you can do is meatless Monday, then just do meatless Monday. If all you can do is make a decision that you are not going to eat a half a pizza after 8 p.m. in the evening and have several adult beverages with it, then that's it. If you can say, I'm not going to go to Starbucks every day, I'm going to go to Starbucks every other day. McDonald's is not going to be our fallback plan B for dinner. Just make some decisions. Just make some decisions. Healthier is the goal, okay? Because I think healthy is subjective and everybody's got different, I remember when we couldn't eat eggs, family. I remember when they said stop eating eggs. I remember when they said stop drinking milk. I remember when they told people of color don't eat soy. Well, if you're on a vegan diet and everything got tofu in it, how do you get, so yeah, I can't tell you what healthy is, but I think that you can figure out what healthier is. So do something, eat something that's healthier. Make family time. If you are a caregiver who has other children who are able-bodied, make sure that there is family time in your week that is not centered around your loved one's illness. Your other children need to feel seen, heard, loved, and appreciated for being who they are. And so those are my tips for how to help with that. Because like I said, I could throw a lot of data at you. I could tell you what the national the American Cancer Society says and all, but all of that stuff isn't necessarily practical. What I wanted to share with you all tonight is some practical things. There's nothing that I've shared with you that you can't do. You may have to figure out when to do it, but everything I shared is something that you actually can do. What I'm going to share with Melanie is a self-assessment that will help you determine where you are on the spectrum of burnout. Are you kind of okay, or are you on the verge of snapping? This assessment is going to help you determine that, and then you can wrap self-care and soul care around yourself so that you can not just survive, but thrive as you give care to your loved ones. Okay? Depression is something that I am very serious about and I don't play with. And I believe that there are 2 schools of thought around depression. There is clinically diagnosed depression, where you need to see a psychiatrist or your medical doctor and receive pharmaceutical attention for that. There is also a bucket of depression that is around not having the tools to adequately regulate yourself. I deal with the latter. If you do not have tools, or you had tools, but this situation that you're in providing this care at the level that you have to give it has made you forget your tools, it's made you forget what you need to do, it's taken away time from you, then I'm the person who works with you to help you find those tools, restore those tools in your life so that you can have a little bit of balance, okay? The last thing I want to offer you, I actually wrote a book and I got another one getting ready to come out, but the book that I want to share specifically with this community is called Already Toast. And this book is by Kate Washington, and her husband has I believe her husband has cancer. Yes. And I think her book is one of the most realist and raw stories. Um, our final parent transitioned in 2014, and yet while I was reading her book, so many things still resonated with me, and it's 2021. I felt like she was still talking right to me. It's amazing what patterns you still keep even if your loved one transitions, some things that you still do and you're like, why am I still doing that, and why am I still doing it that way? And so I would strongly, strongly advise that this community, and maybe this can even be a book club idea, maybe someone in the group, Melanie, um, and I'm almost certain that because I'm always interested in asking for stuff for free, especially for those in our special needs community. So I feel like this is a beautiful ask letter that could go out from the Whole Family Life Foundation to her and say, we would like to donate 10 of these books to some of our community, to some folks in our community. We'll buy 10, but would you donate 10? And now you got 20 families who can read this book together and have an ongoing conversation. You don't have to schedule a meeting. You don't have to take people away from their already busy schedules. Put up a Facebook group and let them talk in the group about this book, about their experience, about what they're learning, and give them an opportunity to share with one another. So I am 3 minutes over what I was going to do. And so I am going to stop, and I'm going to let Miss Melanie hop on, and let's start this conversation around what do you think the needs are for this community, and what questions do you think they might have that I might can answer. I'm not an expert. I'm just somebody with experience because I've been here and done this. So I do have some perspective from hindsight of doing this work myself.
Well, as always, I'm so grateful to hear from you and your experience, and so grateful for the work that you have done in your own life and are leading other people to do in their life. I love, love, love your book club idea. So we will certainly explore that. And like I said, we'll post the self assessment, and I'll be posting some other resources because we don't want to say, hey, get help, and then not give you a way to get it.
That's right.
So there are some specific resources for caregiver respite and some support networks and things like that. So we certainly want to get some of those resources out to you guys. So we'll be posting those in the coming days. So yes, all of that was fantastic, and I resonate uh, with so much of what you said. Um, could you talk to the notion that for some people, starting this journey feels like trying to swallow the ocean in one big gulp? You know, that it's, and I know you and I have had conversations like that, that I feel like sometimes if I stop this emotional train that I've been tagging on to behind me of grief and frustration and anger and disappointment and all the loneliness and all of these things, you just kind of throw back into your emotional train because you don't feel like you have what you need to stop and deal with it. And if you stopped, all that is going to run you on over top of your head, and you're not going to make it. So can you speak to that person who feels that way? Like, I'm so overwhelmed that I feel like if I stop and do the things that you're saying that I know are true and I need to do, that I'm not going to make it. I'm not going to get back up.
So here's the thing. Some of the family, some of this family, because now I'm in the family. I'm very adoptable. I'm very adoptable. So I just invited myself to be in this family.
You
The
were
first
invited.
time, huh?
You were invited.
Okay. Um, I would not, I would not encourage anybody to stop. What I would encourage people to do is pause. And just that languaging feels softer. It feels better. When you are the primary and the secondary caregiver, stopping sounds and feels impossible, especially depending on the severity of your loved one. So, stopping is not what we want to say. What we want to say is, can you pause? Can you just pause? And in that pause, can you do things in bite-sized chunks. So in the emotional wellness toolkit, we talk about, make these appointments. Okay, so maybe you can't make all the appointments at the same time. So maybe you make the dentist appointment and you check it off and you feel good because something that's for you got done that day. Okay. Um, Stopping, it just feels so harsh, right? And for my mama bears in the family, we can't stop. Like we can't stop now, but we can pause. We can pause. We can have a mindful moment. Even if in that moment, all we did was set an intention to name where we are and how we feel. So I'm big on a feeling wheel. And I think that everybody in this family should print a copy of the feeling wheel and tape it somewhere on a wall in their house. Because guess what it does for the able bodied family members? It lets them point to where they are and wrap language around it. Because what will happen is you all will be in the house together. How you doing? Fine. How you doing? What's going on? What's happening with you? I'm tired. And those aren't feeling words. None of those are emotions. They're not feeling words. And what you'll describe is your negative response to what's happening instead of saying how you feel. And when we can teach people to wrap language around how they feel, then they can say what they need. And then if you can say what you need, you can work with your family to get your needs met. So no, don't stop, pause, and find a way to wrap language around where you are and how you feel so that you can name where you are and name what you need. Grab a feeling wheel. Dr.
Do you have
Gloria Wilcox.
do you have a
Dr.
copy of it?
Yeah, Dr. Gloria Wilcox. In my dreams, I came up with an app that has the feeling wheel, and when you touch it, it tells you it tells you the definition of those words. So let me break down the feeling wheel real quick, because I think this is one of those things that's really, really important, and it helps kids so much. It even helps your loved one in need of care, right? Because it's colorful, and you can talk to them about it. So the primary categories are mad, glad, sad, and scared. If you can't figure out how you feeling, you're probably in one of those buckets: mad, sad, glad, and scared. So if you are raging, if you are exhausted, if you are whatever, ask yourself, am I mad? Am I sad? Am I glad? Or am I scared? And what I've polled with a lot of mama bears is that they're actually sad. What they actually are sad. They're not mad. They don't want to kick their husband out or their partner out. They don't want to get rid of all the kids. They don't, I think they do want to run away from home, but they don't want to stay away long. They're just sad. And if they can say, if someone asks them, how you doing today? How freeing would it be to say, you know what, I'm a little sad today. I'm a little sad today. Instead of saying I'm fine, instead of saying I'm tired, instead of rattling off your busy to-do list, because we don't answer people's question. You know what I mean? If someone says, how are you doing? They don't want you to say, oh, I'm so busy and I got to take the baby to the doctor and I got to pick up the stuff and I got to cook dinner and that's not answering their question. Say how you're doing, say how you feel. And a feeling wheel helps you do that.
Can you say the name of the person who did the feeling?
Yes, it's Gloria Wilcox, Dr. Gloria Wilcox. There are tons of feeling wheels all over the internet, but I love hers because not only does she have mad, sad, glad, and scared, she added peaceful and powerful. So there is an array of words under peaceful and there is an array of words under powerful. And what that allows you to do is be able to pull down strong words. It gets you in the habit of saying strong words and assigning them to yourself. So if you can develop that practice, then your family members develop that practice. And now before you know it, we're telling the truth and the atmosphere is changing in our home. Why? Because we're telling the truth. We've self-identified. We've wrapped language around how we feel. We can communicate accurately to one another about what we need. There we go. Mad says, well, they got joyful instead of glad on this one. So what I love about this is peaceful and powerful. So if you can say that I'm peaceful, so then the next breath is, what does peaceful look like on me? Am I content? Am I being thoughtful? Do I feel like I'm in a place where I can share an intimate moment? Do I feel loving toward all of the people who are stepping up and stepping in and helping? Do I feel like I trust the caregiver who came by today, who worked with my baby? Do I feel like I'm in a nurturing space and I still have something to give? You see what I'm saying? It changes how you start talking about how you feel and how these words show up in your body and where you are and what your next best step is. And so I live by the feeling well. I think it's I think it's one of the most wonderful underutilized tools. We use it in the mental health space, but I don't think it gets used enough in the physical health space. Giving people these words, empowering them with language is one of the most miraculous things that we can do. And so, yeah, don't pause, stop, and then use the feeling wheel. I mean, don't stop, pause, and then use the feeling wheel to wrap language around where you are and how you feel.
And I think that's great because I think oftentimes I know when I'm wrapped up in that caregiver space and it's all about that other person, that when somebody says, "How are you doing?" I really don't know.
Yeah.
It's like, give me some options. Like, and so I do like the wheel. Like, I might say, I'm frustrated, but if you trace the wheel in, I'm really sad, and so then I can explore, what am I really feeling?
Yes.
Because I think with in caregiving, it's so easy to be so out of touch with yourself that you forget, who am I and what am I feeling in my own body, in my own heart, my own spirit,
Right.
because it's you don't off because it's the lie that I don't have what I need to explore those things.
Yeah.
And I can't afford that luxury of self exploration and self care.
Or I don't deserve it. And so that's the other space that I get into with people. Like, not only I don't have time to sit around and try to figure out how I'm feeling. I got this kid, or I have to take care of my mother, or I have this responsibility. The other thing is, but I don't deserve because this person is suffering. And so all of my time, all of my energy, all of my efforts should be poured on this person. And what we really know in the back of our heads, but that we don't want to accept in that moment, is that they get less and less and less of us when we don't take care of ourselves. So even on your best day, if you're exhausted, if even on your best day, if you're on the brink of burnout, that person doesn't get the best of you. You think you're giving your best, but that tone comes out. The clapback we talked about earlier. When the truth is, if you could just self-identify and get to the root and say, I'm sad, then the next question is, what do I need in this moment? And maybe what you need is a hug. Maybe what you need is 2 minutes to be able to go stand on the porch and let the sun shine on you. Maybe what you need is a whole big scoop of Swiss vanilla Haagen-Dazs ice cream and to just stand there while you having your personal summer and let the cool air from the refrigerator blow on you a little bit. hmm and maybe that's just me. Okay, because I'm 50. But yes, I take a whole scoop and I stand there and I just let that cool air blow on me while I'm eating. Maybe that's what you need. And so maybe that gets you another 2 hours. Maybe that gets you another 2 hours of being kind, of being compassionate. Compassion fatigue is a real thing. That's another one. I'm waiting for the World Health Organization or the Center for Disease Control, somebody to say compassion fatigue is also an epidemic. And it's not just for nurses. It's not just for doctors. It's not just for lawyers. It's not just for those who we respect with those types of issues in professional spaces. It's for Mama Bear, who is sandwiched between my able-bodied kids who still need me, who still need my attention, who still need my affection, and my loved one who needs additional care, additional support. And if you're partnered in any way, what is that person not getting from you? And what are you not getting from that person? Um, I remember driving back from North Carolina, having a crazy moment about my mother-in-law and running down there and doing all of that and coming back. And my husband just grabbed me like, no, like before you run, no, stop. Like just come here and let me hold you for a minute, you know? And I was like, I don't have time for that. Like I gotta go, I gotta go. And he was like, no, like for 60 seconds, you don't, because nothing's gonna change in 60 seconds. Just stand here for a minute and just let me fill you back up. Okay. And so it's things like that. But you don't know how bad you need that until somebody offers it to you, or until you can say, I'm sad. What do I need in this moment? A hug would be awesome. A cup of tea would be awesome. So yeah, I think you can't even figure out what you need until you pause.
Is there a way that you would differentiate compassion fatigue and burnout?
So I think compassion fatigue, and I have a whole thing I can send you about that. There's a certification to teach compassion fatigue, and I was crazy enough to do it. But one of the things around compassion, because I love this stuff, one of the things about compassion fatigue is it really does filter your outward response. So it makes you mean, it makes you snappy, it makes you irritable when you talk to people, your tone. And so it lashes out. Compassion fatigue makes you lash out. Burnout makes you self-destruct. So burnout is more internal. It's you dying on the inside. Compassion fatigue is you're lashing it out on somebody else. And I think for me, in the studies that I've done, that's the big difference. Um, you can burn out and it not necessarily affect other people. But if you have compassion fatigue, yeah, it's outward, and burnout is inward.
Thank you for clarifying that. There was a question that says, I have a lot of friends who are in similar caregiving situations, and sometimes they are struggling more than I am. How can I help to lighten their load without putting myself closer to burnout?
So I think you have to plan your work and work your plan, right? You have to gauge your time. And it's hard because, like I said, I live at the battle station. Our house is open 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, pre-pandemic. I have to keep saying that because I don't want people to think that folks are running through here now. But you have to predetermine what you can do. You have to be able to say, okay, I have all of these friends, they have all of these needs, and then I have these situations going on in my own life. So maybe what you do is you say, I've got four girlfriends. I'm going to help Tammy. I'm going to do something for Tammy this week. I'm not going to try to help all my friends in 7 days. I'm just going to pick one person. I'm going to make an extra pot of spaghetti when I make a pot for my house, and I'm going to drop that off at her house. Or I'm going to tell her, swing by here, or have one of the kids that's driving, drop this off at their house. Pick a thing, and don't try to go for grand, go for grace. Do something that just offers that person a moment of grace. I think sometimes we're so busy trying to do the big thing because we think the big thing is going to help them, when a small thing would just be so appreciated. Um, I just did a workshop and for the emotional wellness toolkit, and please stop and be glad. The G in glad is for gratitude. And so the assignment was, because everybody's big on gratitude jars, and write down three things you're grateful for at night. It helps you sleep better, and the evidence-based science is there for all of that. But where we take it a step further is to say, go to Dollar General or Dollar Tree or Target, buy a pack of thank you cards, sit down, and instead of trying to figure out what Tammy needs you to do, write Tammy a note thanking her for being an awesome mom. Encourage her. Tell her you see her, that you know she's doing the best she can, and that if there's anything you can do, I'm free on Tuesday afternoon. Let me know. See how that's just as powerful as trying to figure out, well, what is the big thing that I could do that would lighten her load? How about sitting there reading someone say that they see her, that she's doing a great job? You're doing a great job. You're one of the toughest moms I know. I see you. You're doing great. Hang in there. If you need me, I have Tuesday afternoon. I will come wash clothes. I will come sweep the floors. I will come do a thing. You tell me what you need. I'm going to give you 2 hours or I'm going to give you an hour. You let me know whatever you need me to do. Like, and you don't have to buy anything except the card. Like, go to the dollar store and just buy some cute cards. And don't text, don't email. Sit down and let the flow of love that you feel for that person write a letter for their heart, from your heart to theirs. People keep that stuff. And on the days when nobody's calling and nobody's offering help and the doorbell isn't ringing, they can take their card, they can go in the bathroom and shut the door, and they can be reminded that they're awesome and that they are thought of and that they are loved. And then they can get back out there and do what they do.
I love it. So I think you addressed this a little bit in the warning signs of burnout, but what would you say to the person who says, I just have a hard time asking for help? Or I don't feel like anybody wants to help, or I don't want to ask too often, or, it's just easier for me to just keep throwing myself under the bus and do it than to ask for help.
So I believe that everybody has a tribe. I think in your loneliest moments, if you sit still long enough, there's somebody sitting at the table of your life and you have a tribe. And for people who struggle with asking, practice on those folks first. So whoever that tribe is, whoever those 3 girls are, whoever those girlfriends are, the cousin, your mother-in-law, just practice. Just practice. This week, I'm going to ask one person to do one thing. Don't ask them to do something that they don't have capacity to do, because this needs to be a win for them and it needs to be a win for you. And if you ask somebody to do something that they don't have capacity for, they feel like a disappointment and you're frustrated, and it validates why you don't ask. So look at the landscape of your life, look at the people who sit at the table of your life, pick one person and say, you know what? I think this one person can take these clothes to the cleaners. And that's all I see, because you need a win. You need to be able to start small, start small. Maybe they can't come babysit for you for 2 hours because they don't have the capacity, and you're going to be nervous as all get out if you leave your loved one with them anyway. So don't start with something big, start with something small. I think this person can pick up some laundry detergent for me. I think if this, I know everybody knows that Sheila Battle goes to Sam's Club every week. If I miss a week and I don't go to Sam's Club, the people call and find out if I'm okay, because I'm in there every week and I spend way too much money. So it's easy for people to say to me, Sheila, I was the toilet paper lady. So when people were calling during the pandemic, Sheila, we know you going to Sam's Club. If there's toilet paper in Sam's Club, call me. Text me and say they got toilet paper. Or if they only gonna let you pick up 2, then I'll buy one of yours or whatever. So you gotta sit down and think about, okay, what are people's rhythms? What are the people's rhythms in my life that I know? And like I said, everybody knows I go to Sam's Club every week. So it wasn't hard to say, Sheila, text me if they got toilet paper. Sheila, if they got Tide Pods on sale, can you pick up another one and grab one for me? Yup, because I'm in there. So it wasn't a stretch. I wasn't going out of my way. It was a win for me because I got to help a friend, and it was a win for them because they're learning how to ask. Start small. Start small. And I think when we have our loved ones that we're caring for, somebody has disappointed us. We got a story. We got a story. All of us got a story. I asked my sister to do such and such and such, and I just can't believe that she just dropped the ball, and this is important. And all of us got one of those stories. At some point, the story no longer serves you. When you get to the place where you realize that telling that story over and over and over again isn't serving you, stop telling it and make new stories. Make room for new stories. I asked so and so if you. I know you go to Target. You go to Target every week. You go to Target and then you walk over to Kohl's because it's right next door on Midlothian. If you go to Target, pick me up some shampoo and conditioner. What kind? Surprise me. I just wanted to smell good. I want to have an experience in the shower. I got to wash my hair anyway. I don't even care what kind. Just pick me up some and let them do it. Let them do it. Start small. It's the big things. It's the big unrealistic expectations that keep us in rounds of disappointment with people. But if we start small and we set it up for that person to win, they win and we grow.
I love it. What about the person who's frustrated that it feels like I'm giving everything I have and it's never enough? Like, or that grief in the midst of, it's always going to be this way. More not speaking more to the folks that are like in the toddler transition, your baby, new baby, and I'm not sleeping, kind of, whether it's able bodied or not, but or the parent that's in the process of transitioning with an illness, but the 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 person who's caring for someone who they're not going to get better. Like,
Right.
this is a permanent disability. They're
Mhm.
always going to require this level of care, and they're looking down the road in the years of their life going, I don't feel like I'm enough right now. I don't feel like I have what I need to do this right now. And I sure don't think I can do this for another 10, 15 years.
That's hard.
That's why I asked
And
it.
I don't think there's, yeah, I don't think there's a cookie cutter answer that's one size fits all. I think, again, everybody has to look at the landscape of their life. And if you look, you'll find your own small win. Um, if nothing is going to change, I mean, we got to that stage where with my husband's mother, where nothing about this was going to change. Um, I'm walking alongside somebody right now, Smokey, and nothing. This is my beautiful little sister, brain tumor, brain cancer. Her left side is completely out now. Nothing about that's going to change. The fact that she lived 3 years is the miracle, right? But this is at the stage now where the doctors were telling us that she would be 2 years ago. So we're here now, and nothing about this is going to change. This is the path that we're on. In situations like that, I think it is absolutely imperative that you find a therapist, a coach, or a counselor, wrap community around yourself as you transition in your grief stage to acceptance. Because you can start the stages of grief before a person transitions. It's just the fact that this is the way life is going to be. And you will grieve your dream, your hope for how you thought or hope that life would turn out. Right. So you have to give yourself a minute to say, okay, this is what this is, and let yourself go through the 5 stages. And Alva, we call her the griefologist. She has a 6th stage of grief, and maybe you can have her on and she can talk about all of that, because grief isn't just about death, it's about loss. And we teach that strong. Grief is not about death, it's about loss. There are people who are grieving 2020. They lost it. 2020, whatever dreams, whatever resolutions you have for 2020, it's lost. None of that happened. The whole world shut down. So if you can figure out, okay, I have permission to grieve that my life is never going to be the same. I have permission to grieve that this is my lot. This is my loved one. And I absolutely have permission to figure out how to take good care of me while I'm in it. And you may not know what that list looks like in the beginning. That list will grow and it will expand and it will change over time. But being able to value yourself enough to say, I am in grief. That is a natural response to what is happening. It doesn't mean I'm not strong. It doesn't mean I'm not able. It doesn't mean I'm not going to make it. It just means that this is the period where I have to go, okay, I still have to take care of me. I still have to figure this out. What does that mean? And maybe it's one breath at a time, one day at a time, one doctor's visit at a time. I think the other thing that this experience with Smokey has taught me is I can't plan out to her next doctor's appointment. I can't go that far. So everything about what we're doing with Smokey is what's happening today. It's the epitome of mindfulness. Be in the present moment. What's happening today? Your enoughness, and I don't want this to sound rough, but your feelings of your own enoughness have nothing to do with how able you are to do what you need to do. Because you can still feel insecure and you can still feel like you're not enough and you can still feel like you don't know enough, but your baby is being fed. Your baby is getting to the doctor. All of the things that need to get done are getting done. They're not all getting done at the same time, and that's not required. That's not required. I sat with somebody and she had a stack of paperwork that she had to fill out. I said, well, what part is the hospital part? She said, they have their part. This is my part. And they sent her home with a stack like this. Terms that she didn't understand, fine print so small, we had to use this. I had to use this. I said, I can't see that. These are from the dollar store, honey. I need something bigger. I got on bifocals and this, trying to read all the fine print on all of these little pieces of paper on all this paper she has. And that was the thing. It was like, okay, well, you don't have to do all of them today. Let's read 2 of these pages. Ready, set, go. We're going to get through 2 of these pages. We just going to do 2, and then we're going to do 2 more tomorrow. You got to be, but you have to, and that's why I say there's no cookie cutter answer. Like, you have to figure that out. You have to look at the landscape of your life. You have to look at the specifics of the situation that you're in, and you have to say, okay, what is my next best step? What is my next best step? And then take it. And then you wake up tomorrow and you say, what is in my hands to do today? Okay, what is my next best step on getting that done? And then you
What I
wake up.
love about all of that is it forces you to be self-aware
Yeah,
and to stop and think, what's going on with me, what's going on with them, and how can I match the two? Because otherwise it's just I get up and I do it and I get up and I do it and I'm unaware of myself, what I'm doing to myself, and really what's happening in my whole life and the people around me besides me and this person. You know what I mean? Um,
autopilot is real.
yeah. And it's survival. And there's not, I don't think that either of us are saying, um, you're a bad person if you do that. I think it's a
Right,
survival mechanism.
right.
Um, you know, that we need, it's a bad habit we need to break, but it's a necessary survival function, I guess, if you will. I did want to
What's,
ask you about,
what's let me
but
say something else to that. What's worse is for some people, you have all of that and other demands are still being made of you.
yeah.
So some people are caregiving and still working,
Hmm.
whether it be at home or whatever. Like people are doing what they need to do to survive. What I don't think people are doing is taking time to stop and appreciate themselves for how far they've come.
Absolutely.
People are so busy thinking about what didn't get done and how much more there is to do, that they don't go, okay, but you know what? I got a bath today. The baby got a bath today. Everybody got their medicine. Everybody ate today. It was a good day. It
Right.
was a good day. It was a good day. It was a good day. And that's enough. That's enough. Because we got to get up and do this again tomorrow and the next day and the next day. So yeah, I think being able to pause and go, okay, I got to give myself some grace. I have to give myself some grace. It's the gift I give myself.
And I think measuring that line of what's good enough, sometimes you need somebody outside of your own head
Exactly.
to speak that truth that what you're doing is good enough.
And
Because
that's why that thank you letter, that's why that's so important. Because that's when you run in the bathroom and read that and go, yeah, I'm doing the best I can. I really am.
You had talked about one of the symptoms of caregiver burnout was mental distance. Can you elaborate on what that means?
So it's when you run from your own self, you know, your inner witness, your inner critic. Like that's the only voice that you hear. And that voice has been dominating your life so loud, so long, and it's turned up so loud that you run from your inner witness, which is saying to you, but I'm here. I'm still here and I'm able and I can do what I can do. Um, and we run from feelings, which is again why that feeling wheel is so important. You know, you're so afraid that your feelings are raw, and that your response to them is going to be overwhelming, that you avoid them at all costs. And the problem with all of that is 9 times out of 10, you got somebody younger than you or beside you watching you do that. And now they're adopting that as as a habit because they think that's right and natural and normal when it's not.
Mm.
And that's why community is so important. You know, you got to be able to have one person where you can call and say, I quit.
I hear you.
I mean, you can't give your letter of resignation to nobody for real, but you can have somebody in your life where you can just call and say, you know what, I quit. I quit. I'm going in the bathroom and I'm going to stay there for 30 minutes. I quit. And maybe you should quit for 30 minutes if you can. If you can. But when you're at that point, like I tell people, when you're on 10, 11 ain't far. If you're on 2, 11 is far. So if you're on 10 and 10 is the pinnacle of your top is getting ready to blow, what happened when you was at 9? What happened when you were at 8? Who should you have called when you were at 7? What break should you have taken when you like this is self-care. This is soul care. That's to me, that's soul care. That's not self-care. That's soul care. It's when you have enough self-agency to be able to say, okay, I'm at 2, I'm at 6, I'm at 10. Somebody get the baby. Like I'm getting ready to lose it, right? But where are you catching yourself as you're doing that? And are you catching yourself? And if you're not, why aren't you? Because the consequences are dire. I've been that mom where I went to 10 and then I went to 20 and then I had to come back the next day and apologize to everybody. I have to come back and say, babe, I'm sorry. I have to look my kids in the face, kiss their whole face and say, I'm so sorry. I'm sorry. Because I really am the next day. But the day before, I meant all of that twice. I meant all of that twice. And all of y'all gonna get away from me. And I know it's harder to hear that from somebody when they have an active spouse and they have able-bodied kids and all of that stuff. But I'm telling you, that ripping and that running, that doing and that going, that never ending list that's just running in your head, it is a lot. It is a lot. And I have chosen to be the safe space where people can say things to me that they can't say to anybody else. They just can't say some of the stuff that they want to say in public. I've had people say things to me that in my social services had should have had me call child protective services. But you got to have somebody you can you're not actually going to do it, but you need to get it out of your body. You need to be able to say it somewhere non-judgmentally, and you got to know who that person is for you.
So when you work with people, what practical tips do you give them? Like set a timer every 2 hours on your phone, and when it goes off, check in with yourself. Like
Right.
what practical things? Because it's the day can go away and you never
Right.
even say hi to your own self. Like
Right.
what what practical things do you when you're working with people on the soul care side? Like what do you suggest they do?
So 15 minutes of grace is 15 minutes of grace is the stellar. Do this. Don't just read this. Do this book. Don't just read
Can
it.
you explain that
Um,
for those who don't
so
know?
15, yeah, 15 minutes of grace is a decision. It's a decision to carve out 15 minutes in your day where you do not judge yourself, condemn yourself, or compare yourself to anyone else. And people say, Sheila, I don't have 15 minutes. Then start with 5. Start with 5. Do it in the shower. Do it on a commode. Do it in the car with no radio on, going from one doctor's appointment to another. Get it in where you can fit it in. But the idea of it is that for whatever period of time it is, you are not judging yourself harshly. You are not condemning yourself for what didn't get done. And you are not comparing yourself or your life to anybody else. It's a practice and it takes practice. It's a muscle and you got to work it. But if you do, it gets stronger and stronger and stronger. And when you empty out habitual cycles of negative self talk, you can replace them with something else. But if you don't do garbage out, it just perpetuates and grows and then it starts smelling. And then it's got maggots. And then it's turning into something way detrimental that you don't want. But you got to replace it. You got to replace it. So after we get all of that out, like, oh my God, I'm so judgy. Like I had a lady call me, she said, I'm so judgy. Like I didn't realize I was so judgy. Yeah, all the time. She's saying horrible things to herself. And it's not just you're fat or you're not smart or whatever. It's you're a horrible mom. You are a horrible mom. I can't believe you said that. I can't believe you did that. Oh my God, did you forget to pick up the able-bodied kid from school again? You're late. Okay, your able-bodied kid's crying because they can't go to Boy Scouts. Well, we can't go to Boy Scouts because our special needs child had a whole fit and punched a hole in the wall. I can't go anywhere. Like, stop. Stop. Do not judge. Do not condemn. And do not compare yourself. And if you can only hold that intention for 60 seconds, do it for 60 seconds until 60 seconds becomes 120 seconds. And do it until 120 seconds becomes 5 minutes. And do it until 5 minutes becomes 7 minutes, and then 10 minutes. And you work your way up like that. Sometimes I have done 15 minutes of grace sitting in the parking lot at Target. I guess y'all can tell I like Target. I go to Target, I sit in the parking lot, and I do 15 minutes of grace. I've done 15 minutes of grace in my husband's arms. I've done 15 minutes of grace laying in my daughter's bed. Because if I'm going to get up anyway, I'm going to just go ahead and lay in there with her, and I'm going to do 15 minutes of grace in there. Get it in where you can fit it in. But don't deny yourself, because denying yourself is how you got here, and here is not your happy place. So figure out how to back the truck up and head in the direction that you really want to go.
So 15 minutes of grace, if they wanted their own copy.
So I have some books. I have no idea how many books I have, but if you're an e-reader, it's on Amazon. But because I'm not a best-selling author, you have to put my whole name and 15 minutes of grace in the search bar for it to come up. It's not like if you start typing it, it's like, oh. But we have done well with this book. This book has gone around the world. This message has gone around the world. It's been an amazing ride, but you can get it there, or you can go to SheilaBattle.com and order a copy, and I will sign it and send it to you. But if you order it on Amazon, you can get the ebook and you can do the book and not just read it.
Well, I, as always, am so grateful to be with you and have a soulful conversation with you. And I believe
Look at us. We ended on time. It's 8:30. I'm so proud of us.
Yeah, we have a habit of closing restaurants and parking lots and everything
The
else
rest of my day.
talking, but it's wonderful, and I would never want to do life without you at the table of my life. But thank you for sharing your gifts, for your sharing your wisdom and your resources, and we will certainly be posting things in the days to come. You can reach out to us on social media, the Whole Family Foundation VA on Facebook, or email me, Melanie, MELANIE, at thewholefamilyfoundation.com. We really want to help you in your whatever your situation is. Please share this video with other people, other networks that you're a part of, so that people can get this information. We think it's super important that we be healthy, whole families, whatever that looks like for you and your family. So again, Sheila Battle, so grateful. And if people wanted to reach out to you directly with a question, what's the best way for them to reach you?
Yeah. So for questions, comments, concerns, to ask about resources, hit me up at info@thebattlestation.org. We just launched a grief class with Alva Carter Kershaw. who I call the griefologist, and it is an amazing, amazing course. And again, it's not about death; it's about loss, and that's on the SoulCareAcademy.com. And you can go out there now. The class is loaded. There's some free materials out there, some things. I have a free class out there called Soul Care versus Self Care. What's the difference? But I'm so excited that Alva's course is up there and it's live. So if you feel like you are in those stages, and Alva is the counselor in residence for the Soul Care Academy. So if you feel like you need those types of services, she is the go-to person, and it is extremely affordable.
Awesome. Thank you all for joining us. And we hope you have a healthy evening. Take
Take
care.
care and be well.